Whew. What up, Izzy? Was I invited to try the expansion? I'm going to be in Seattle live the day of for the world premiere of the class reveal, and able to play it live along with 3 other fantastic creators. I was very invited. I will be here. But I will be here. Very excited. It's also the day after my birthday, which is pretty cool. Okay, back to the mines. Yep, they are traveling. They're actually going to California for a sneak preview. And they'll be able to put out stuff about it after our world premiere of the class. So you got a bunch of people going to California, but for me, Wudijo, Raxantrax, and Fame Regalis, we're going to Seattle for the world premiere. So there's like 2 separate groups. Very excited. Where were we? Scent of Death. Scent of Death, Scent of Death, Scent of Death. An interesting board for sure. Let's talk about rare and magic boosting nodes. The damage to injured is pretty trash. The armor is okay. Probably worse than the starter board. For magic boosting, even worse. It's kind of similar. Maybe like significantly worse, actually. Yeah, okay. This is going to be one epic video. This will be a video, for sure. This will be a video. And I'm trying to figure out how I want to break it down. So like, let me go behind the scenes a little bit here. So this right here was my how does this all work about the new crafting systems in season 4 video. Like, how does this all work? I put this out. When did I put this out? May 19th. So almost 2 months ago. It's not my best performing video, but it's pretty high up there. It's like one of my best performing videos for sure. And the reason why it's so good is because it's evergreen content. Like, I'm explaining why rare items aren't valuable, how tempering works, how masterworking works, how do you get into the pit, how do you actually do tempering, and it's very evergreen. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate you. Hola, Papa. Bienvenidos. And this does very well. So I'd like all of my videos to do this well. So what I want from this is that. So what I need to do is I need to figure out how to create kind of like an easy breakdown. Like, hey, here are my rules for building Paragon. And then for people who want to see the data will be there. I'm not going to go over like, and for the starter board, dexterity gets you 39 dexterity points for 24 total Paragon points. But what I personally want to do is like, one, show how this data is valuable and show how a person can use it. I basically want to I want to derive some things that like people can walk away and go, okay, now I get those ideas. And if I ever need to check back, I'll go look at it. But I walked away with those ideas. Now I know that, and use that as an opportunity to like both educate, but make something that people can kind of use forever. That's why it's not just the minimum amount of points needed to leave a board while activating a glyph. It's not just minimum points just to activate a glyph to figure out where your dead end boards are, but it's also like minimum points needed to max out a glyph. Meaning that if we ever get back to the point where we're maxing out glyphs, we'll also, I'm future-proofing it in that way. Giving people a good idea of like, where are high value, like rare and magic boosting nodes? And how valuable does that continue to be? I'm trying to think of ways of turning this into a valuable piece of timeless data as much as I can. Now, I don't know how successful I'll be, but I'm gonna try my best. I'm probably gonna end up over explaining and people are gonna like not watch it, but that's okay. Joys of stocking shelves overnights. Hey man, I'm glad you got something to listen to. I need perpetual things to listen to, so I very much vibe with that concept. Minimum points to leave the board on decks. Nothing lasts forever and is perfect. You are not wrong. So this will be 10, 14. I'll need to get to here. This gets me towards exit.
"64 months and I still wait for the day I can shake your hand and tell you how amazing at creating the best entertainment. Until then, I'll keep counting the months."
Inventor of Soup, thank you very much for the 64 months. Don't let him lie to you. I just saw him at a wedding and then at a barbecue in the same weekend. Although sadly I didn't get to spend as much time with him as I wanted to. But don't let this man deceive you. Thank you very much for the support, man. I appreciate you. What's going on, Leighton? How we doing? Thank you very much, man. So if this is the case, this is the cheapest route. You're a oneer, baby. You're a day oneer, you are. That is 64 months. That is 5 years, 4 months, dude. Dude, it is... Sometimes it is terrifying to think of how long I've already been streaming, and I feel like I'm just now getting started. I'm not going to dwell on that too much, but... But I do. I feel like I'm like just now getting started. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Watch this video. I understand maybe 30%. I'll continue to copy Paragon boards from Max Roll. Beautiful. So this is 23 points. 23 points, bad. 23 points is pretty bad. Minimum points needed to activate Glyph. Hmm. 16. It's just pretty bad for decks in general. Well, that's the part that's so interesting about it. It's actually really good as an end dex board because you will always take the Scent of Death. That's just an important thing to note, I guess. Some boards are good if deeper they're bad because of other pathing requirements of the build. Like the easiest path here, it is not the best minimum points to activate a Glyph board unless you think that you are activating it from Scent of Death, in which case it becomes a 13, making it the best minimum points to activate a Glyph for decks. Plateaus in channel growth are brutal. They definitely can be. I mean, like, you know, another just kind of like behind the scenes, right? You know, it's kind of funny, like, this is subscriber growth rate. Over the past year, I've gained about 28,000 subscribers, which includes part of last year, obviously, right? Like, back to June. And last year was one of my biggest growth years. I went from like 10K to 40K. And then this year, I've gone from about 40K to about 56K. And what is... probably shouldn't be showing money, but like, who cares? You know, a lot of that occurs right around when season 4 and everybody actually likes the game again starts, and now has died down again, right? It's it's interesting. What up, Cosmic? Did I see the leaked track list? I have not. I have not. I've not gone to ruin anything for myself. And by ruin anything, I mean I just didn't know. They have drastically reduced the requirements for Paragon. Pretty significantly. You know, here we're at 6th board. It's now only requiring 470 when that used to be like 3rd board or 4th board. That doesn't mean that there isn't insights. Like, while leveling, there's a lot of insights we gained, although most people level so fast you don't even really notice it. Sis's Dex, minimum requirement to activate, then I need minimum points to max. I wish there was a way to not have to take, so. Oh, it would just be cheaper this way. So it's 18. 18 for, what is it, 34? 29? 34. Okay, then for intelligence. Control. I think I should just take this down as an example. Scent of Death. Scent of Death becomes an amazing end board when building from the legendary node. Just call this like notes. I think these are just like good things to kind of, I basically like, I want to give insight, not just like give data. For example, you give a number for endgame int being around 1200. I'm only at 450. GAs and tempering. You have greater affixes and tempering? How do you get to that number? You need intelligence on your weapon. Intelligence is typically a very good stat to have on your helmet, your pants, your boots, your chest piece. Some people will put intelligence onto an amulet. That's not really relevant to any builds right now. And intelligence is an okay secondary stat on rings if you don't need another stat for your build. And then you pick up, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of intelligence from the Paragon. Like, just pathing through the Paragon, you should have, like, more than 450 intelligence. Because you get intelligence per level on a character. Then pathing through a board like Control Glyph requires 40 intelligence. Amplify, Sacrificial, each require 40 intelligence. That's 120 intelligence. Corporeal for builds who are using that. So it's like 160 just from picking up intelligence just to get glyphs going. And then when you path through the Paragon, you typically want to take intelligence over any other stat. So like where you put the Paragon point in, just kind of like enough. Can't find a two-handed scythe? Go gamble. Just gamble two-handed scythes. Like, intelligence is the most common stat on a weapon for Necromancer. I think I lost everything. What do you mean you lost everything? Mr. 420. I'm confused. It sounds like something bad has happened to you, but I'm not sure what we're referring to. Yo, what up, Andre? About Golem build and maximizing Golem rare nodes and crit strike damage nodes. Do you think for Golem build this strategy makes more sense? Nope, I do not. The Golem should have thousands of additive damage on your gear. So taking additive damage in the Paragon system isn't particularly valuable. But as with all things, it depends on how much intelligence you have, how much additive damage you have, and where your gear currently is. But at the end of the day, there is not a single Necromancer build where I would prioritize going out of my way to pick up additive damage on a rare node unless there was nothing else for me to get. Like, nothing else for me to get. Even just putting the points into, like, the Essence glyph for, like, 20 additive crit damage. Would probably be more efficient. It's pretty efficient. 16. This is also a 16. Yeah, no problem. Right now, getting ranks to skills seems to be the most heavily weighted outcome on gear, yeah. Well, the patch was fairly big, wasn't it? Oh, I forgot that patch was dropping today. Sale price for boss mats has gone up. Deciduous stone sale price has gone up. Tempering drop rates are better. Drop rate has been reduced for elixirs. I don't know why. Tempered affixes now have an icon. Fixed a bunch of issues that things were having. These will all now deal more damage. User interface stuff. And then some miscellaneous changes. I should probably patch just to have it. Okay, so minimum to path out though, now that I think about it. Yeah? So weird that these outcomes are the exact same. 15? How did I get to 23? So it's actually, sorry, it's 24. And this was 25. What's going on, Ducky? How do you decide which way the board should be rotated in place? Is it just by which nodes you want to use? How do you decide which way the board should be placed and rotated? Very typically, you could just make a bunch of right angles. You could just go up and to the left, and then up and to the right, and then up and to the left, and up and to the right. Because most people don't like build back down into boards. But basically, you always want to start from the closest point to a thing you need to get to, and then leave from the easiest point away from what you needed. And that determines the orientation of the board. $21,460. Making this more efficient than hulking. Same efficiency as Flesh Eater. Will there ever be a reason to fill a board completely? No. Except when we had Tears of Blood, kind of. Later, could I pick your brain on something I'm working on? You can pick my brain now. When I'm not streaming, I'm being a human being. So if it's something I can do while streaming or while making content, that would ideally be better for me. I don't really have free time. What up, Daddy? What's the funniest build for Necro? Cold Necro, for sure. Nothing else comes anywhere near it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's actually fairly simple. Do you have a build for it? I don't. Because it's also not good. But that's why it's funny. The idea is that you just put on everything that says you apply chill. So Penitent Greaves, Frostburns, and Bloodless Scream. Then you do darkness damage over time effects. Or, well, you just cast Blight because it has a high lucky hit chance. It's just Blight, but with Bloodless Scream, Penitent Greaves, and Frostburn. Some people also use Cold Mages. With, like, Vulnerable. You could do it that way. Excuse me. And then you can also put Cold Bringers up here. There you go. That's your build. You just kind of fill in the rest. Working a D4 things to know, and that would include how much some things would cost selling wise and lists of important details. Could you check it out? You can send it to me. I don't know how much things cost. Lupe's new album? I haven't listened to Lupe's new album, but I want to for sure. Also, Inventor, thank you very much for 40 bits. I'm sorry I did not see that. On-screen celebration. Thank you, man. I didn't know that was a thing. What does that do? What does that do? Triba, thank you very much for the follow. Return to the game after prolonged break. What would you recommend I do to levels? Some people say Helltide. I would do Helltide, yeah. And I would also recommend going and getting the codec aspects. I don't see them as an either or thing. I would go get my codecs, put them on, and then go to the Helltide. So this would be 24 points versus 22 points. You need to supply access, Ducky. When you open it to share, you need to say whoever has link in the share criteria. 22. Not the worst. Not great, but not the worst. Boop boop. Now I need... how many points needed to activate? Pretty good, actually. 13. Actually very strong for a last board for willpower. Comfortable doing that anyway. Only thing I wanted to ask was, are there any builds that aren't as build spendy and like to level with, or is that how most builds play? Build spendy. Build spendy. Do you mean like mana intensive? Mana intensive, gotcha. Or resource intensive, I guess, is more reasonable. We recommend Chain Lightning and Firewall as the best leveling builds. So the only other one that I would recommend is Firewall. Yes, you are going to have essence issues. That's the thing that you basically need to solve for like every single build. Mana problems early game is like very specifically an issue with Chain Lightning. So it sounds like you've picked a very difficult build to manage your essence on. You're going to want mana per second on every single gear piece that you can get it on, which is your helmet, your armor, and your boots. Along with resource cost reduction on your rings. And they're recommending mana on kill. I would recommend resource cost reduction. I would also temper resource cost reduction onto your rings and onto your amulet. And then also like make sure to go get something like recharging and then put this onto your amulet if you're having resource issues. Yeah, it looks like they recommend a bunch of things to help manage your resource costs. If you're spamming cooldowns a lot more, you can put this onto your amulet instead. Excuse me. Can you like seriously refine the question, Ducky? Like when you say what is missing from the tips section, I can't necessarily tell you because I don't know what you want this to be a tool for. So if you could like really define your question, it would help me be able to potentially help you. 13 and then to max. Out of what you've played, which characters are least gear dependent to just do well through leveling and into late game? The Necromancer is fairly gear independent on some of its builds. Nothing is not gear dependent in the end game. Gear dependency isn't like Diablo 2 in Diablo 4. It is, you do just have to go get the gear that has the stats that you need the majority of the time for builds to function properly. Getting that gear isn't particularly hard. Like, you don't need the things that give you all the damage, but like, you need essence per second, or you need resource per second, you need resource cost reduction, you need maximum life, you need armor, you need resistances. There's no build that works without these things, from my experience. But something like a minion necromancer build, I guess, is less gear dependent. How would X thing do this thing in just a general place where people can find information, if that makes sense? It does not help me to better help you. because the answer is max roll, right? Like, what do I think you're missing? Anything that we have on max roll is what I would recommend putting on there. But like, there's individual videos that are really good sources of information, and like, people want to know a lot of stuff. Like, when I'm looking at this, I'm beginning to look at this. No, Tribal. Tribal mic drop is actually not talking about you at all. Are gear dependent? Will the Spiritborn class be for leveling in endgame? I think it'll be fairly gear dependent. Do we have patch notes coming out today? We've had patch notes for a while. Diablo 4 patch notes, you can Google it. Like, people care about where are unique items. People care about how do I manage my resources. People care about how does lucky hit work. People care about how do I max my defenses. People care about how do I do Paragon good. People care about where are build guides. People care about a lot of stuff. People care about how much they can sell their thing for. I will say people need to know much less like what random uniques are worth, and they need to know much more like how valuable is an item if it has these types of stats on it, which is something that like you can't just Google very easily, whereas how much is a unique worth, you can generally just kind of Google that. Because it's easy to figure out a unique, but it's not very easy to figure out the other stats. 23 or 54. How much is a GA Dark Shroud chest worth? Well, yeah, but again, you can very easily Google that. Everybody knows what Dark Shroud is. But not everybody necessarily knows what the 3 best stats on a legendary amulet for a minion build is.
You have to understand how things are up here.
With the major issue being that like those things won't be worth that stuff next season. Because the meta determines what the prices of items are. And unlike Diablo 2 where things have like set prices, because the meta doesn't shift. It's just what's popular kind of shifts. It's a large undertaking. That's what I'll say. Without APIs. Does an item selling for 99 billion gold make sense? Yeah. Certain items are very rare. Also, there's a gold cap. But yeah, if you have like a GA Hellbent Commander with GA Gloom with GA Crit Chance Amulet, yeah, that's gold cap. With that, let's talk about magic and rare. Rare node boosting, very low. Magic node boosting, incredibly low. But still not one-to-one. Like, it has a value. You will put things in it that do it. It's just not particularly valuable to do it. No problem, Ducky.
You have to understand how things are up here.
Also, I just realized something. Strength, intelligence, willpower, dexterity. This should probably be the right way. Strength, intelligence, willpower, dexterity.
You have to understand how things are up here.
Okay, cool. So we start with inteligente. Intelligentsia. Seven versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the same amount of intelligence. Okay. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's just bad. Just bad for intelligence. Okay. 25. Oh. Minimum need to activate. Where there's just a bad board. Like it's 7 to get to a point. What's going on, Ralph? How you doing? This is 18 points. Excuse me. And then needed to max. Okay, so this would be better. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to hit to the point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it's actually the exact same. Shit. Well, it doesn't really matter. Hmm. You would technically do it this way. Not that it really matters, but... Oh, you'd actually just do it this way. But that also doesn't matter. But... You'd actually also just do it this way. Most of the time. If resistances still mattered, you do it this way. But they don't. Okay, so 25 for 65. Very bad ratio. Very, very, very bad ratio. Incredibly bad ratio. Only better than bone graft. And equal to blood begets blood. Well, it's worse than starter, but starter board is terrible for everything. Starter board is so inefficient. It's kind of crazy. But it's because you have to leave this starter board that it is bad for these things. That makes it 29 for 70, which is still not good. That's worse than bone graft. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's worse than bone graft. Is this necro only? It is currently necro only. Yes. Found the missing temper manual yesterday. Very nice. I'm glad you found it. Willpower. Wither. $23. Because, like, I can then pull out these stats, which is very interesting. Like, give each board a rating. I don't know how valuable that is, but it is a thing I can do. Is this minimum points needed to activate? I think so. So that's 14. A lot of 14s on willpower. Guess there's a lot of 14s. A lot of different boards. Except for intelligence, obviously, because it requires more. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. When I think about that. So we're due a 13. Wait, if I hit 13 on anything else? This is for 49. This is 22 for 49. What up, Kem? This is hopefully an end-all be-all. Here's everything you could know about the Paragon board currently and how you should approach building the Paragon. And why those decisions are valuable. $22 for 49. Outperforms Bloodbath, outperforms Bone Graft. Worse than Cult Eater. Equal to Flesh Eater. Equal to Hulking Monstrosity. Equal to Scent of Death. I wish that your choices made... I wish that it mattered a little bit more. Like, you can't begin activating this glyph without 6 points, regardless of how you go. Unless it's dexterity. I really don't like that. I mean, I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine. Like, that needs to exist in the system. Surprised nobody has made a which glyphs do you want to use, what level are they, what secondary bonuses do you want, and what priority questionnaire that outputs a set board. You're surprised that nobody has created a complete AI that accurately generates a Paragon board? The questionnaire would need to be like 200 questions long, and people wouldn't know how to input the questions. Like, the questionnaire would need to be able to do the math of pathing through Wither twice. Like, because of how inefficient this is for anything other than a dex glyph, and how valueless these additives are, the best way to build through Wither that I found is to path out and then 1, 2, 3, 3 boards later path back in to have a 6-point exit, which is still inefficient, but it's better than pathing through the middle. What up, C-Todd? Almost always use that, dude. The Wither trick, I'm fucking big up on the Wither trick. I think the Wither trick is like high key one of the smarter things I stumbled on. I really wish this potion healing wasn't here, though. But it's like, no, you have to take potion healing if you want the maximum life, or use this as a terminus. Which using it as a terminus isn't that bad. You just have to have a very long path out here, so you have to have 2 boards that run across, which not a lot of setups can. Would you also consider adding a minimum points needed to activate legendary node for each of the boards, or are the glyphs just that much more important? Minimum points needed to activate a legendary node. At least for the Necromancer, there are... So this is a good question that I need to be able to answer, and it's whether or not I can give a satisfactory answer. So the Scent of Death board is a really, really good example of this, where every build wants this, because it turns out that 15 damage reduction is good. And starting off the fight with a 15% multiplier is also good. Because of that, almost every Scent of Death board wants to path here. And the most valuable and fastest way to path here is always this maximum life node, now that they took this and made a mockery of it. Also, additive damage being nothing nowadays. And because of that, this becomes a board where you will always get this legendary node and you will always go over to here. But there is like almost no examples of picking up a board just to pick up its legendary node. In an efficient way. Like, if you are picking up Cult Leader, you are picking up Dead Razor. Because of that, you are pathing through the minion attack nodes in the middle, because that's the fastest way to get there. Because pathing there, like, looping and pathing through for Cult Leader actually isn't really more efficient than just going this way. Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 points. Versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So pathing this way to make this not inefficient, and this will be valuable for your build, you will pick up this. I've tried to make builds where you would just pick up the node, but you just wouldn't. Blood Begets Blood is kind of an example of this. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 points is asking a lot. 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 is less bad if you consider you're going to be picking up the max life node here anyways. So that becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. Except that if you're building to Blood Begets Blood, except on like a very niche build, you would probably use this as a corner with an intelligence glyph here. Garm will point that out a lot. But you don't have to pick up this maximum life node. You wouldn't just path to Flesh Eater, because you have a really good glyph right there. You wouldn't just path to Bone Graft, because on any build where you're using this, you're also pathing to here. And then because you're pathing to here, this exit becomes very this exit becomes 0 points because it's lost in pathing between them. So it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 7 points to get here, but you're gaining, because it's only 5 points to get to here, so you're gaining a 0 leave, which is like this only costing you 2 points to get to it. This is, so it ends up costing you 3 points, because this is also generally valuable to the builds that would build to it, except very specifically on my sever shenanigans. So these become dead points. So it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it becomes 5 points of pathing, which is what you expect to path out of a board. Is there an example where you would only path to the legendary node efficiently? The issue is that the legendary nodes aren't in efficient places, except for Scent of Death. Like, Scent of Death is kind of the only example of an efficient legendary node that you would path only to it. So my response to that, Grims, is that tool either must be complex or it is of no use. Surprised that nobody has. I am not surprised of this thing, because I think if you sit down and you think, because like, one, we sat down and thought about it for Max Roll, right? Like, can you create a tool that just says, here's how you get to all of the glyphs as efficiently as possible? You can make that thing, but that thing will fail to offer valuable advice, and would need, for it to be of value for us, it would need you to then go over it to determine it. And at that point, you might as well just make the Paragon board. Last season, there were some classes that only pathed to the legendary node. Other classes? I don't know shit about the other classes. The other classes also have good rare nodes, though, so. A board with a 5x multiplier glyph and 6x multiplier rare nodes can get to 300 million DPS. I don't know what that question is in reference to, Brian. I also don't know what class has a 5 times multi and a 6 times multi legendary node. This one somehow hasn't. I just don't think that that somehow is confusing. I think that for that tool to exist, the game needs to be significantly more solved than it currently is for it to be of value. And considering the game changes, like, think of how valueless that tool would currently be, just based off the change to how much additive damage were available in glyphs and how crit, invuln, and overpower worked. Like, that tool would have been made in season 1 and then valueless by season 2. I'm not surprised by this thing. Not existing. We were having the same conversation, and we both did just say the same thing. That's why I said I'm not surprised that it does not exist, which is just the opposite of your point, which is you were surprised that it does not exist. That's it. There's also the point that, like, the person who would be the most helped by this tool would not know how to give it the prompt needed for it to do the thing. Because those same people don't even necessarily know, like, why the glyphs are important in the first place. Dex. My old friend. Three points for 5 decks. Uh, 24. Not the worst decks. Excuse me. This is actually minimum. This is minimum. Right. So it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it's 16 points. And then needed to max. Yep. No other way around it. 21 for 39. Okay. Let's pull out some data. Bone graft. Cult leader. Sorry for the flashbangs. Flesh eater. Looking monstrosity. Scent of Death and Wither. Oh, why am I doing it this way? Whoa. Okay. Starter. Delete columns. Ugh. Does this matter? No. Does it help my brain? Yes. Do I like this? Minimum points needed to leave the board. Minimum points needed to activate a glyph. Minimum points needed to max a glyph. And how good is it here? And then I could put notes. I could do like a notes section. Okay, that's generally valuable, I think. Oh, you know what I could do? I could do this. That doesn't help. And just get rid of these ones, because these ones are the ones that are annoying. The other ones can stay. Yeah, so I think there is a value in doing this and then putting a notes section just so I can kind of collect all of my thoughts. Sure. Okay. What up, Zaratha? Would it be possible to ask for advice on Necro Paragon board that I made, and would you be able to tell us by the looks of Paragon board what build it is for? The answer to both those questions is potentially. If you want to share it, I could take a look at it. There's no way I'll be able to tell you exactly what build it's for unless it has like very, very specific choices made in it. I think that would be a fool's errand to say yes. And you want to reverse engineer what build this is for. I'm sure you'll be able to. Okay, I'm gonna stop doing whatever I'm doing right now. Can you explain to me the purpose of this thing? That made it feel very much like I'm walking into some kind of trap or gotcha. Can you please just give me more information? If you already know what the answer to it is. Unless the thing is, the game is we want to see if you can guess. Trying to figure out if your board is potent. Okay. So you know what this build is. It's not, can you figure out this build for us? It is, do you like what this looks like? And instead of me telling you, can you guess what it is? Scourge, darkness. So it has some Shadow Bloodwave. You should rotate this board and go from this way instead and lose all these points. These intelligence are more efficient to pick up than these two, which have 2 dead points. Exploit on Bonegraft is fine. Because we're going out to here, sure. Shadow Bloodwave doesn't really do consistent enough damage on vulnerable targets for exploit to be very valuable for you, I don't believe. Not when you still have Abyssal glyph to put on, which would just be a permanent 10% damage multi because you're doing non-physical damage. You shouldn't need this resistance. You shouldn't pick up this damage node. And you shouldn't need armor in general, so pathing out of here would be significantly more efficient. Pathing through here is generally not particularly efficient, because this additive damage is very undervalued on... You're also choosing to skip 2 DR here. But additive damage basically means absolutely nothing on your build since you have so much additive on gear. An amplify glyph in a board that doesn't do anything for you is a suboptimal choice. And Scourge in Wither is also a suboptimal choice. This should be Abyssal as a dex. You should path out and then path back through here. This should be anywhere where you'd be picking up additive bonuses. If you are so right here for darkness, this could just be amplify and then you'd get even more damage and even more resistances. And I would not waste my additional intelligence points trying to max out darkness because again, you have so much additive damage. You have not actually activated this glyph, so I would recommend activating the glyph. Building here for... What am I looking at? Oh, Scent of Death? It'd be much better to build out of the bottom of Scent of Death and pick up the maximum life here, build out, as opposed to this very long, inefficient path out of the board. If you really want, you can activate your willpower going this way, instead of trying to activate it going this way. And what that allows you to do is path out of here as a 5-point exit. Should be using Sacrificial, Abyssal, Amplify, Desecration, Control, Scourge, that's 6. Then probably Gravekeeper, if you have the points, which you should be able to. It's a dot Ebon Piercer build? I would not use Desecration at all. Mans, thank you very much for redeeming the Darkness. The Darkness has been redeemed. Hopefully the Darkness will stay redeemed. Is it just Shadow Bloodwave but on Ebon Piercer? Where are you getting Desecration from? It has to be Shadow Bloodwave? Shadow Bloodwave is not worth the aspect loss. I don't even know what aspect you would drop right now. Like, Retribution is just strictly stronger than Desecration on a staggered boss, and you should be staggering bosses about 4 times during the fight and killing them during the stagger. Do I have a planner for this already? Do I have a planner for... I don't know what planner. True aggro? I'm not working on a build. Yo, be good, C-Todd. Thanks for coming and hanging out. The initial wave can crit, sure. It's on Blood Mist. Yeah, I don't think that the aspects... So, like, the aspect slot is requiring that you use a glyph to gain access to a temporary 20% damage multiplier. Or you could just be doing 2 30% damage multipliers. Or a consistent 20% damage multiplier. Or even, like, Ring of Starless Skies for a 50% damage multiplier. I'm not telling you not to do this thing, but if the question is how to optimize it, using Desecration is not optimal. Cult leader. Nice. I hope it helps. Oh, idiot baby. No, you're just a dumb idiot baby. No, my time wasn't wasted. I chose to participate in the thing. Although the irony of it is that a lot of basically a lot of those questions ultimately will be hopefully answered by this very thing that I'm making right here. So I guess in that regard, I have slightly done double the work. But in answering those questions, I gained some insight into ways in which this information can be valuable. This part right here, I mean, I'm gonna finish doing it. It really is. Who's this for? Me? Me to have my data in a structured format? What does that mean? Why does that matter? It doesn't, but here we are. Who cares? Who cares? I don't care. You know. You know, I can see a dog. Shit. You know, I can see you. See a dog. Okay. So, let's start pulling out some insights. Minimum points needed to leave a board. The best ones for each type: 23, 22, 22. For willpower, 21. And for dex, we have 3. So, means that Bloodbath, Bone Graft, and Cult Leader all require the same number of points to pad out for dexterity. They are all equally valuable, just from points needed to accomplish it. Now, do any of them get you valuable stats? No, not for dex. So the best transition boards for intelligence are Cult Leader and Hulking, requiring 22 points. This also means that pathing through boards with intelligence glyphs is the least efficient thing you can do. So we want to path through boards with our dex and our willpower glyphs. Okay. Derived value. Cult Leader on willpower. This one I just want to double check. Cult Leader on willpower. $21 points. Accurate. 5 points. 5 points. Accurate. 21. All right. So let's go start putting these numbers in. So Cult Leader and Hulking Monstrosity. Valuable Insight. Valuable Insights. 1. Or Intelligence. 22. Notes. Okay. Valuable Insights. 1. Intelligence. Intelligence? How would I describe this? So, intelligence in a pathing board is the least efficient option and should be used in dead end boards when possible. The difference is 1 Paragon point. 22. So this, I think, is a valuable insight. That when you are pathing through boards, intelligence glyphs on pathing boards is the least efficient option. It's only by 1 point, but it is the least efficient option. Willpower and dexterity are the most efficient. Willpower and dexterity glyphs in pathing boards are the most efficient options. Difference is 1 Paragon point. 21. And should be used when possible. Second insight, valuable insight. So Cult Leader. Tied for best pathing intelligence board. 22 points. Same for Hulking Monstrosity. Very excited for this to be complete. I made a spreadsheet very similar for the Paragon boards at launch. I also made like a Paragon board at launch tool. I just realized. It was so much different back then though. Like the value of the tool back then was like very, very different. Let's take a look at what I made back then and let's realize whether or not I've doubled some of my work. I like when people just misquote me, but then hold me responsible for the misquote. I say you should have something available at the end of 1 week of gameplay. People go, you think somebody should have it at the end of week 1? Meaning week 1 of the season. No, I don't think that. I said 1 week of gameplay. Those are two very different realities. Paragon board. Min-max the Paragon board early in Diablo 4 to save your respecs. It's a great thumbnail. This was the datasheet. Let's see what it looks like. Wow. 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 I did it for everybody though. Also, this is what the boards used to say. 5 minion damage, 10 damage. Golem armor, damage to elites. 8.3 damage to elites on Flesh Eater? What? Holy. 9 shadow resistance, 3 shadow damage. Wow. Barbarians used to say damage reduction from close enemies. I don't know if they still say this, actually. I have no idea. Man, doing this for every class is gonna suck. Have other people already done this for the other classes? Tell me somebody else has already done these for the other classes so I don't have to. Okay. Cult Leader is best for willpower. Best adding willpower board. It's Spoon. Thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. I love that you're finding the best way to do things. I've always been a fan of facts over opinions. Nice. In places where you can have facts, you should have facts. Bloodbath, Bone Graft, Cult Leader. On H. Bloodbath, Bone Graft, Cult Leader. Tied for best adding dexterity board. 21 points. Then I think we can do... Blood Begets Blood is your worst pathing board by a pretty far margin. Six, yeah, just terrible pathing board. Cult Leader is a great pathing board. Negative insights. Maybe they should all just be down here. Kothin, thank you very much for the follow. I just realized something though. Okay, so Blood Begets Blood is the worst pathing board. Worst pathing board for everything. Worst pathing board. Blood begets blood is the worst pathing board. Bone graft. Worst willpower. Willpower pathing board. Maybe 6 points. Or int and dex. Or int and dex. Okay. Wait. This is not real. Okay. So, we have now gained the insight into what is best and worst for pathing. Wow, Wither's so bad. You just shouldn't use Wither. You should actually just corner Wither. Huh. You know what? Hold on. I'm using that on... I was using it on one of my planners. I was using that on Bone Spirit at one point. Whoa. Wither is a terrible board. For pathing. For pathing. For pathing. For pathing. For pathing. For pathing. Well, okay, so here's a really here's something interesting though. Intelligence are the worst pathing nodes. Accurate. But they're one more point for 40 relevant stats, and you're getting 40 stats over 25. Maybe. If points are tight. But you get 40 main stat or only one more Oregon point. That's actually really good insight too. Pathing with an intelligence, while slightly less efficient, point-wise, outcome-wise, may often be more valuable. I think that is important insight. Okay. Minimum points needed to activate a glyph. So here's where we're talking about best dead-end boards. So Bloodbath, Cult Leader, Flesh Eater, Hulking Monstrosity are all tied for best dead-end boards for intelligence. Okay, so this is Bloodbath, Cult Leader, Flesh Eater, Hulking Monstrosity. Cult Leader, Flesh Eater, Hulking Monstrosity. Cult Leader, Flesh Eater. Then for dexterity, we have some, oh, we have a 13 on scent. Scent of Death is best willpower. $13 points. Then we have another three-way tie for Dex. Bloodbath, Bone Graft, and Cult Leader. Tied for best Dex. 14. Tied for best Dex. Dexterity. Bloodbath, Bone Graft. And Cult Leader. What is this Excel about you just got here? Welcome to an analysis of every single Paragon board based off of activating your glyphs and which ones are the best and worst for accomplishing what types of glyph combinations. From an efficiency standpoint. Notes. Placing an intelligence glyph in the starter board allows you to choose between armor or damage. Using a dexterity glyph requires that you choose armor, which should be taken into account in your gear to reduce the prevalence of armor choices, of armor affixes / gems in the endgame. It's valuable insight.